Yes, I'm ready. All right. I'm just waiting for it to actually go live over here so that I can mute it. And it's still not live yet. Wow.
Oh, I see you.
Oh, okay.
I see you on my laptop, sissy.
There. Okay, I got it muted. So hi, everyone. Oh my gosh. It has been like forever.
Yes.
How long has it been? Like 4?
I don't even know.
5 months since we've all
Definitely
been
not this year.
Yeah. Wow. So just to let everyone know, this series is going to be about just talking about tarot. We're starting today with the aces, and we have watched other series where they talk about the aces. I even went through this morning and watched some, and we're going to put some of that in, like, you know, origins and stuff like that, and meanings and stuff like that. But we want it to be a casual conversation like what we do, so you guys can get a taste of like the rabbit hole sometimes that we go down when we're in our sisterhood chats, and just having fun with tarot, just talking about tarot. Just think of it like The View or anything like that, any of the shows that you like to watch, but it's like tarot edition, right? So
pretty much.
Yeah.
My kind of TV.
Exactly. So the first thing I really wanted to start with first out of the gate is, because we are talking about the aces, the elemental associations with the aces. So for instance, I have seen other people that don't associate, they like mix up some of them. You know what I mean? From how I learned. So I wanted to go around. Hi B. So I wanted to go around and ask everybody what your associations are. So I'm just going to start, meaning, so like the wands for me are fire element. The swords are, you know, of course, the air element. Yep. Pentacles are earth.
Yep.
And then we have the cups, which are water.
Yep.
What do you go? Anybody? Everyone agrees?
Oh, I know I agree.
Yep. Okay.
I agree. I do tend to like how Crowley views it, though, where they kind of interchange, where it's more complex. But overall, I do agree with that.
So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Hi, Debbie. So we have our elements that you look at them like they're opposites, like they don't intermingle with each other, right? Like they're so cut and dry. I don't see them so cut and dry. I see them where they actually, like water does not cancel out fire. They actually can work together. We see it every day in the warming up of our oceans from our sun, right? The ultimate elements. We see that in somebody being cold water or cold emotions, or somebody being warm emotionally, or anything like that. So which one do you guys want to start with? What ace do you guys want to start with today?
Hey, I have a quick suggestion on that, because I didn't do them individually. I did them as a whole.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't realize we were going to do them individually. I thought we were doing them as aces as a whole.
Well, they are all together in the aces as a group, but they all have their own individual flair because they are based on elements. So I figure we still have to. Okay, so aces in general then could be looked at like a seed, right? A beginner, associated with the number 1, right? So when you guys use tarot readings, do you use astrology? Do you use numerology also?
Not too much, though, no. Unless the cards actually have some astrological symbols on them, then I might take that into consideration. But for the most part, I don't really mix too much with astrology. Maybe with the court cards to kind of see what sign a person could be. Like if it's like the, I don't know, King of Swords, and then I'm thinking, okay, this could be a Gemini, for example, or like any of the other air signs. to narrow that down a little bit, but that's as far as it goes, I think, for me, for now.
I like so you haven't started any deacon? You don't
not yet.
Like
I'm not there yet.
Okay. No. What were you going to say, Cortney?
Oh, sorry. I'm getting a little bit of lag, guys, so please bear with me. But I like to use the astrology. Numerology is something I haven't explored in it. I am, but the astrology or like the energies of the signs or whatever, I like to try to use in the card.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just saying it could for me, it tells me a little bit about the energy that, who I'm reading for could be in, or just other things.
And something that is also a little bit like confusing in a way is that there's not just one specific way of using astrology with tarot, because you have the Golden Dawn teachings, which like follows that in order with the cards. You have other decks that follow a very different astrological association. So in that, I also I'm trying to figure out which association I like better before I start working with any of them.
So what resonates with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Carol. I completely agree with that. That's one of the reasons why this series is important to me, because it's not just about going over, what the meanings are per se for one system or even several systems, but how we take those, how we integrate those into our own systems, how we use tarot individually. And whether there's a right or wrong way, I don't think so. Is there a right or wrong way for me personally? Sure. But universally, is there a right or wrong way? I don't think, in my opinion, there is not. No. So, sis, what about you? Astrology, numerology?
Yeah, I definitely use astrology, numerology, and tarot. I think when I start off and I think of the ages, I think of as the beginning. So, and then the element, and then, maybe throw in the meaning there. So, and again, for me, it would depend on where it lands in the reading, what the question is. Mm-hmm. So, and back to the fire and the water thing that I was thinking of is water can also be ice, and fire can melt that. So it can calm it maybe, or bring out somebody's emotions. So yeah, I agree with that. I like that.
I was going to say, what about volcanoes making land and water and
Yeah.
Yes. We have talked about these things before, just privately in our chats.
Yeah.
B also says, obviously, she agrees that the water and fire can make steam. So, I mean, we can, and just like air added with the fire can make it even more blow up bigger, right? You think fire and fire, but air is just going to make that fire just go, right? So what does that mean?
Yeah, the combinations are definitely something to take into consideration.
And B also says, tarot meanings to me are so open to interpretation. Absolutely. Yes. One of the things that I had done previously, and I've talked about this before, was I was doing this experiment in my group, and a few of you ladies actually participated in it. Thank God. Thank you. Well, I was laying out 3 cards, and they were the same 3 cards for everybody, and saying, what do you see in the cards? What story are those cards telling you? And everybody, even though the meanings are universal, right, or can be universal, everybody had their own interpretation. Is that right or wrong, how one person reads it in comparison to another? No. So I don't care if you're using the meanings or if you're using pictures. I don't care if you're using strictly your intuition and you're using the cards as that conduit. Tarot is tarot, right? It's not right. It's not wrong. It may be someone's preference, what's right or wrong for them, but
I think it's about the details that each of us focus on, because we will always see different things in the same cards. It's just like, if we read the same book, for example, each of us would focus on different parts of the story. Like one of us would focus more on one person, the other one would focus more on the places, the actions, whatever. So it's like each of us realizes things in a different way, and our brain computes that in a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how is that, like, things that are going on in our lives currently can also dictate what we are seeing in that moment, right?
Yes.
So if you are doing really, really good and you're like cheery and everything, and you're giving a reading for somebody else, you're going to give, that's going to be shown in, the cards. But if you're in a really pissy mood and you've had a bad day and somebody just pissed you off really bad, or everything is going wrong, you're going to see the cards and go, or you could. I'm not saying you will, but you could. It could affect your reading. So
yeah, because using a form of divination is asking your higher self for information. So when that's filtering down and you're in a bad mood, you're going to be like, oh, really? I don't know if I agree with that today. But yeah.
That's actually another question. So when you guys get a reading, and I know this is kind of off topic a little bit, but it's not, because it's all tarot talk, right?
Right.
So if you guys get a reading and you see those cards and you're just like, oh no, I'm not having that, we're going to redraw it. It reminds me of that one meme of the two ladies, and she's like Victorian, and the one's like, beep, you're going to redraw those cards. You know, you're better
a lot of your problems are your own damn fault. You better reshuffle.
Yes. So when you see that, when you see a bad, reading for yourself, do you just accept it, or do you say, I'm not having that, we're going to try this again? What do you guys do?
I accept it. I mean, when push comes to shove, I'm very aware of myself and my decisions. And some people are, some people aren't. But I think anybody who's doing tarot or generally doing a reading for themselves or other people have a better awareness of their own choices, generally. Not all, but generally. So I think that there's an awareness that comes with that. So when you get a bad reading, even though you might want to draw a card, for me, it's like a reminder. You made a choice, or you have a choice to make. And it's not necessarily a bad reading to me so much as an admission to myself that I need to address.
Right.
And the question is, what do we use tarot for? I mean, for me, it's not just like predictions and future fortune telling and stuff, but for me, tarot personally, when I read for myself, it's about getting to know myself and self-improvement, self-empowerment and all that. So if I get a bad reading, then there's a lesson in there. So what do I do with that? And where can I find the silver lining in all of that? And that's my work that I have to do then with that.
Right. Because I could see people going, no, clarify that. No, I need another clarification. I don't do that either. I take what the reading is and I try to learn from it. But if they're having a bad day, oh no, I'm not even. Or they'll go, oh no, this deck needs cleansing, or whatever.
I did that the other day though. Usually I'll look at it, but I talk back to my deck. I'm like, oh really? Fine. And but the other day I absolutely
drinking something.
I pulled out these cards and I went, oh hell no, we ain't going there. And I just put the deck up. I was like, nope. I was like, I know you ain't gotta roast me. I know this.
There was one time that Cortney and I were doing a reading and we were using the Hermit Tarot, that's got all the words there. And it said one of them, after we were trying to restructure it so we would maybe get a different answer, it says, I can't even look at you right now. I was like, dang.
Yeah, I did.
We're like, okay. Message taken.
Well, I can honestly say, before I started studying tarot, and just obviously using the book or something to get the meaning when I would try to give a reading. Sometimes, depending on a placement of, say, the minor arcana would come up, and I'd be like, well, how in the heck does that relate to what I'm trying to figure out here? Well, with expanded knowledge and looking at the cards and all the different aspects that they present, now I can understand more when a card comes up that you wouldn't necessarily understand. Like, okay, is this a yes or no question? What is this, what is this trying to tell me? So in my progression, it makes more sense now. Whereas before, I could see where someone would be like, yeah, that just doesn't make sense. Must be my higher self is not really communicating with me today.
All right. So let's get back to the numerology and astrology. I definitely look at all aspects. I try to look at as many aspects, even to the point of when I'm looking at the cards, and even though I know the meanings of the cards, let's say, for instance, I get 555 or I get 888 or something like that. I look at that like there is a bigger message. It's not that I'm going to have this 5 from this suit, this 5 from, no, it wasn't meant that way. That reading was not meant that way. And I've actually had it come like show itself as 555 before when I got a 555, right? So I think that there's symbolism, there's bigger symbolism, there's pictures, there's all that. But getting back to, so like numerology with the aces, so ones are like independent, they're ambitious, they're leaders, they're proactive, they're pioneers, like entrepreneurs, they're innovative, they come up with ideas all the time. They can be self-centered also because it's also associated with the sun. So the number 1 is associated with the sun. So they can be uninhibited, they can be reckless also, motivated, freedom loving, right? So do we take those things into consideration when we're looking at the aces?
I don't actually take the number 1 in association with the aces. I take the idea of 1 singular or 1 as a beginning because it is the beginning of the minor, right? It's the beginning of the minor, but they're not named 1, they're named aces, whereas 2s are 2s, 3s are 3s, 4s are 4s, right? So when I take the aces into consideration, like when I first started, I did take them as the number 1. Like that's 1, that's the first card, that's the first of all this stuff, right? But as I've grown as a reader over the last couple of years, I've learned that while I do take numerology into my readings, okay, I usually do it with the actual number cards rather than like ace or knight or page or something like that. If I'm doing aces, I'm generally looking at how the word aces has evolved over the years, because back in the Middle Ages, pretty much, when all the card playing came into being, aces were considered bad luck originally. Saying aces was saying that you have bad luck because it was the lower form of the deck, right? That's what this tarot originally came as, a card playing thing, right? So when I look at the aces, I also look at how it came about culturally or how it came about over the ages, because the Middle Ages, it was a form of bad luck. But by the time it reached 1909, card playing became such a popular thing that the term for aces became a more positive term. And that's where we get that duality in aces that I don't see in just the number 1.
I like to also see them as, you ever hear people, like you reminded me of that saying, Summer, like I have an ace up my sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that kind of says it all, because it's like, to me, the aces are that seed, that infinite opportunity of what you're trying to gain or start your transformation into, along with like the meanings, like that force that drives. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like what you said.
Yeah, I could definitely see it that way, but I do see personally the aces as a 1 for me, numerology speaking. It's like individual. It's like, but it's all encompassing, because we were also talking, the 3 of us earlier, and the aces with them, or 1, the number 1 being associated with the sun, right? But also like we were talking about Kethor or Kador, however you pronounce it, being like the crown, which is like, which is the ones, the aces is Ketor, right? So before that, it feels like Sophia, and the ones are like what she created that then turned around and created. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because they're associated with the princesses or other, you know, and they're like the divines of the heavens in certain directions over like poles and other things. So I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
A lot of card games that I play, the aces trump.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was something else I seen that was like aces are either 1 or 11 as well, or ones can be looked at as 11 as well. I was watching numerology channels this morning too. So
Well, you did say 10 before.
it would be
so.
10 also, because and the magician. So like the power of our choices in the beginning kind of thing. Also with the with the wheel, right?
Yep.
As one. But I guess also like what you were talking about, going back to origins, there's even discussions about what the origins truly were, though.
Yes.
Did tarot truly start as playing cards? I don't think so. That, in my beliefs, that's not correct. So the way that we read tarot also stems from, in my opinion, our beliefs, our own personal spirituality, our ethics, our morals, what we believe is the origin stories, where it started, right? And there are different systems. Which system is right? Is it okay to pick and choose this system for this one and this one for this, and various? What do you think?
I do that. Like, that's just my thing. I pick and choose, throw away what I don't want, and I develop my own way.
Same.
So let's get on to Maria really quick, because Maria has done some really good research. She's studying right now, like the Golden Dawn.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what I like, for me, the reason why I even wanted to go back to those Golden Dawn decks, and the ones that, like, what started this whole thing was actually this deck, the Initiatory Golden Dawn Tarot by Los Garabeo. And some of these depictions in the cards are so different from the RWS. So I wondered, okay, where does that even come from? And reading more about the Golden Dawn, I then found out that, yeah, the cards that we know in the Arthur Waite Smith deck are very different from what the teachings in the Golden Dawn that he was part of kind of gave them. And so I got some other decks, for example, the Hermetic Tarot, which is the closest to the original deck that they had in the Golden Dawn, that they each took as inspiration to then produce their own decks. And the next one in line would be the Golden Dawn Tarot by Robert Wang. And the guidebook that comes with this one actually has the descriptions that are in the book T, so to speak, that gives all of these original descriptions that the Golden Dawn Society was working with. The next one in line would be the Magical Golden Dawn Tarot deck. And then for me, the last one is the Initiatory Golden Dawn. There are some others as well, but putting these cards next to each other, I could actually see where these depictions come from by looking at the other decks and going through those descriptions. I now understand how that came to be. And the reason for me is also, like, I'm trying to find out which decks I really want to work with. And so going back to the Golden Dawn and finding out how these things actually progressed with those RWS clones that we have, to kind of give me an idea, okay, which decks can and what do I want to read with, and which decks don't really give me anything besides pretty pictures that I'm not really getting anything out of them. So that's kind of like how do I want to tarot? That's basically my reason for doing all of that.
I like that. How do I want to tarot?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I got the guidebooks with all of these. And for example, the Golden Dawn puts the suits in a certain order, and it says the suit of wands is the first one. The second one is the suit of cups. The third one is the swords, and the fourth one is the pentacles. Now that is very different from what I read in my very first book about tarot, and that's not the order that I put them in. But it's interesting to know this, because for me, I also associate the suits with seasons. So if anyone is asking about timing, I go by seasons of the year, for example. So this is like one difference that I found right away, and that's very interesting. And so maybe I can like read you the description of, let's start with the Ace of Wands. And I have like the cards here to show you that. So the Ace of Wands is called the root of the powers of fire. And so one of the earliest depictions is this one in the Hermetic Tarot. And then an easier one to see, probably this one, from the Robert Wang deck. And it says, a white, radiant, angelic hand issuing from the clouds and grasping a heavy club which has 3 branches in the colors and with the sigils of the scales. The right and left hand branches end respectively in 3 flames, and the center one in 4 flames, thus yielding 10, the number of the sufferer. 2 and 20 leaping flames or yods surround it, which are those little things here everywhere, answering to the paths of these. 3 fall below the right branch for Aleph, Mem, and Shin, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of that. 7 above the central branch for the double letters. And between it and that on the right, 12, 6 above, 6 above and 6 below about the left-hand branch. The whole is a great and flaming torch. And kind of like in this, the magical, you can see that, like this is what they turn that into. And it symbolizes force, strength, rush, vigor, energy, and it governs according to its nature various works and questions. It implies natural as opposed to invoked force. So this is like, for me, this is very interesting reading that, because when I then look at other decks and I look for, okay, which of these cards shows me natural force versus invoked force. For example, here I have the Undersea Tarot. And
just a second, honey. Carol asks a question really quick about the cards that you were just holding up previously for Carla. Yeah. She said, Carla, can you please take note of the hand and meaning? And can you comment on that? You know, because of the palmistry and stuff.
I wasn't, yeah.
So adding even another layer, you know, to it.
Yes. And not to cut Maria off real quick, but I was thinking about that before we started the series, is how I could add something with palmistry. And it is just like with tarot, an astrology association. So if you were to, you know, you're talking about the wands, you talked about the wands first, that's the fire, and fire is in the plane of Mars. If you're talking about cups, that would be your Venus. If you're talking about water, that would be your moon. So that is how I would associate.
So let's see that card one more time, sweetie. The way that, because wasn't he going like this too?
Yeah, I was pointing. I was going to say that. And then one of them was like a left hand and one of them was a right hand, which is interesting.
Maria,
right.
What, the card again, sweetie?
The cards that I have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the right and the left, that's also symbolic for me in the sense of like the tree of life, or if you're going by the Kabbalah, like paths, like maybe what side to work with.
Yeah. See, look at that.
See, that's pointing.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. See the 2 different hands there. That's interesting.
What finger is that one, Sissy? That's the sun line, right?
Yes, your index is your sun.
Exactly.
Or no. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Mercury.
I am wrong. The index is Jupiter.
Yeah, but this mound right here, is that the sun or is that?
No, the sun is right here underneath your ring finger.
Oh, your ring finger is the sun. Okay. See, I'm getting them all mixed up. Isn't that interesting? And yes, he's pointing. Huh. Interesting. It's interesting seeing that the wands, there's like so many different like branches to that for the ace.
Right. Well, as far as like a right hand would be like what you do with the potential you're born with. Your left hand is the potential you're born with. And that is, I mean, that, and if you are left-handed, then it would be the opposite. But a lot of people still use the right hand as, that's the hand that they would read. Like,
so what one is that
on
one?
an average.
Okay, that's the right hand.
Yes.
Was the other one the left hand?
The green one is the left hand, I think.
Yeah, the green one is left.
Okay.
They're both left. Yeah, they're both left. And this one is the right one.
And aces is potential, new opportunities.
The left is the beginning. That's
Right.
the beginning. That's what you're born with. That is the beginning. And this is what you do with it. This is the journey. This is.
Huh. Very nice to point that out, Carol.
Yeah, thank you, Carol.
Of course,
because I wasn't thinking about.
I mean, she's like the teacher. She's so good at all the details. So
I know. She needs to be on here. We need to get
and you can find that in like whatever cards you look at. They will always have a different hand, like either right or left. It's not like set in stone which one it's going to be.
That is true.
And some don't even have a hand. Like here I have from the, what is it, Tarot of the Old Path. There's not even a hand in there.
Okay, so the Ace of Pentacles. Let me make these all regular again. How do I do that?
Or even in this one.
So the Ace of Pentacles is the right hand, right? Is it the right hand or is that the left hand?
Which would make sense.
My right hand.
That you're manifesting. You're manifesting there. So
right. So that would be what you do with your potential. So
that
see how
sense.
all the aces are not the same?
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. What did she say? I think you have to remember that mirror image. Yeah. It is confusing.
Yep.
It is definitely confusing looking at these cards, thinking about. But I can see this for myself with the thumb being out that this is right-handed right here with the Rider-Waite. At least this version, which is the Radiant. I mean,
Wizard deck uses the hands for the aces too.
Show me, Sissy.
The wizard deck, the one that I
right. Most of them do show the hands in there, but yeah.
Well, my camera sucks, don't it?
So go ahead and finish what you were talking about, Maria. I'm sorry.
So yeah, since it's talking about like the power, the force in the wands is more natural and not invoked force. Like going through my cards like this for me, with a trident as a wand, that would be kind of invoked force. So that would not be like the original, because this is a forged weapon, so to speak, and whatever comes out of that, that's like made. It's not like natural. Unlike, for example, where is it? Like in this card, this is something that you can find in nature, and even like the fire in the hand, like this is like a natural element kind of thing. So here I can see the natural force. And like even in this, whether it's with like the sun or lightning, that's like natural force to me. So that is something that I'm looking at in my cards now when I'm going through like my wands, like what is natural, what is invoked force, and like kind of separating my decks in a way.
So see, one of the things that I was telling the ladies earlier, because we do a thought study every Saturday morning. So Carla, Cortney, and myself were talking about these things earlier. And when I had mentioned that the aces are ones for me, at least for me, and that ones in numerology are associated with the sun. So the sun being masculine. So if you have a sun with another element, which is masculine, then you've got double masculine energy. And if you have it with like the water, it is a combination of a feminine and masculine energy. So another reason why not all of your aces are the same, even though the way that they play themselves out are different. One could be more in balance and one can be overly one way or another, but that still is going to be whether or not you need that double masculine fire energy if you're going for a job, or maybe that could be overkill if you're going for a job. You know what I mean? So how it plays itself out is going to be different as well, depending on what the question is. So anything, well, astrology wise, if we know that it's the sun, numerology, well, see, here's the thing, Carla, when we were talking earlier, you had said you looked at the aces like they were the fool, right? So do you feel like that it's more associated with like the fool?
No, I was only referencing that because we were talking about how Aleister Crowley portrays the fool as being the beginning and the end of the journey, as being like starting out in the beginning and then becoming an ascended master. So, and with the aces being like the beginning.
Right.
So, and
also
again,
the ending because of 10. So 1 and 10, because in numerology, it breaks back down to a 1.
That's, yeah, very true.
0 and 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would see it as the fool, yeah.
I see it kind of both, because the fool, I feel like, is everything. The fool encompasses everything.
The journey.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that's what the aces do too. They're an encompassing element of the entire suit that they're in. They're the potential that you literally have to grab.
The entire suit, but not everything. Because even when we were talking, and this is how we are when we talk about things in our chats, guys. We go down rabbit holes and stuff like that. We explore different things. So one of the things that Cortney had said was, oh God, I can't remember now. I lost my train of thought. It was something, that when we start our life, that she believes that we are elementals first. I do too. And listening to the Dolores Cannon books, they say that we start off with like the elements and then go on to maybe like birds and grass, and we work our way through each evolution. So if that's the case, at one point we were fire, at one point we were water, at one point, but that's not the fool. That the fool encompasses, that's a portion of the fool, in my opinion, because the fool is everything. It's all of it together, right? Or at least that's the way I see it.
See, the fool kind of starts that journey of transformation with the major archetypes. For me, the aces do that in a smaller way with like their particular suit. So it's like that start of the alchemical transformation of that throughout their suit.
Yeah, and I was thinking, because we had talked about it before too, about whether the meanings of the cards, and how tarot originated makes a difference on how you read the cards, in my opinion. So like, and knowing that the major arcana, now knowing, like if you look up the Law of One material, and Ra speaks of the major arcana. So, and that's like Egyptian,
Right.
esoteric beginnings of tarot. Then all of a sudden later on we're putting in the minor, and it starts with the aces, just like the major started with the Fool, which is exactly what I hear you saying, Cortney.
Right.
I feel that.
Did you guys see that?
I did.
Yeah, Carol says the occult and initiates say that all is one issued from none. Yes, like Sophia.
Yeah.
Sophia is like the no thing, right?
Right.
And we were talking about this earlier too. And for me, that feels like what did I say? Like dark energy or dark matter, right? Like that thing that they can't really put a finger on or whatever, that's like holding everything kind of together, that like created everything. And then Sophia was supposed to give birth to, was it the demiurge, Carla? Is that what it was? The demiurge?
Sophia, yes, with a breath.
And then that demiurge was who then created our solar system, correct? Or like
He
everything
took
from
credit.
that.
He took credit. He was an imperfect God. He took credit for it.
Right. So would that Kethor or Ketor or the aces be that demiurge?
I believe so.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is masculine energy, and Sophia is feminine energy. Right? The no thing. So that's where 0 to 22 comes into play, because 0, I also kind of look like, or the Fool also kind of like Kali, like Kali energy. So it is the beginning, but it is also the destroyer. In order to make a new, it has to destroy first, right? So,
and when I play cards, the ace is the destroyer.
So Rachele, you were talking about the 0, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things I had been reading, and it was a while back, I think it was on Biddy Tarot. She was talking about the aces I was doing all my studies before. But Biddy Tarot had mentioned that she didn't see the aces as one, that she saw them as zeros. I don't remember why.
She said what?
She said that she saw the aces not as ones, but as zeros.
And you know what? That is okay. It is okay for other people. That's like I said, that's the whole point of this particular chat, is to show that not everybody looks at tarot the same way. And it comes from, like what Carla said, our beliefs, the origins of what we believe that tarot comes from. There is, in my opinion, there is no right or wrong. Maybe there's right or wrong for me and how I associate it. But if that's how she communicates or uses that system, because it is still a system. Astrology is a system, depending on what system you're using. They're all systems. Nobody says you have to accept that system and that's it. There are gatekeepers, but you don't have to listen to a gatekeeper, is my point, So whatever your association is, I say do that. And is it okay for people to use this system for the aces and use this system for the twos and use this? Sure it is. It's your system, right? You use however you see fit. That's why I was talking with Carla, and I love that she used Carlastrology, because it's not astrology, or anything. It's how she sees it from her point.
Yeah, because there are so many perspectives on palmistry just in a Western belief. I had to think of something. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not what this one said. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So what resonates with you? If
Yeah.
zero resonates with you for the aces, go for it. I say,
Yep.
hell yes. It's not right or wrong. It's just
It's
how you see
something
it.
it's something you read at one time, you know, or you were studying and you said, "Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense to me." And then you keep it.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Carol, because I know you know all the stuff. Yeah. What resources or books do you recommend to learn from about Sophia? Sophia Code is definitely, for me, been a big one.
She's reading that. So that's
Yeah.
why I offered the Gnostic text.
The Sophia Code, though, for my own experience, I would be extremely careful for anybody going through and just reading it like you read a regular book, because, and I know some people may not believe this. I don't know. I know you will read it, but it is powerful. When you are reading those codes out loud to yourself, you are activating certain things in your DNA and certain things start happening. And if you do it slowly, you can actually pay attention to the progression of it. But when you do it really, really fast, like Carla had started doing it and listening to it while she was at work, and you were up on a ladder and everything doing graphics and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she had to stop it because she was getting dizzy.
Oh yeah.
Lightheaded.
Yes. I
Very
tried to listen
powerful.
to it all the way through, like going to sleep and stuff, like when I meditate before bed, and I had to stop it as well. I was like, whoa, because you know me, I like to dive right into stuff, and I was like, okay, we gotta slow down here.
Yeah.
Yes. Theology also. Yes. All right, let me see. I'm just trying to, I'm listening to on the audiobook very slowly. Yes. Now, see, I will say though, for me, I didn't do that because it says in the beginning that you're supposed to use your voice in order to read it out loud. So I didn't do the audio version of that because you are activating it with your own frequency and your own vibration when you say it out loud. You are like,
Which makes sense because I was like in my head repeating the codes, and again in my head that was happening, so I could see more powerful the activation if you're speaking it vocally.
Yeah.
So the aces as yes or no, that's a really interesting concept, because I would not use aces for yes or no. I don't think I'd want to.
That is interesting.
I think
I don't
depending
even do
on
yes
the
or no
question,
questions.
I could see yes or no with that. Because
Well, if you
beginner,
assign
right?
a certain meaning.
Pardon me?
Yeah, if you assign a meaning, I can.
If you say, for example, wands and swords are yes, and pentacles and cups are no, then
I guess yes. I could see it that way if
ahead.
you were associating it with the suits that way. Yeah.
But even beyond that, depending on the question, if it's one for, let's say, should I take this job? Right? If an ace of pentacles comes up, I would say, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. You should take that job. If the ace of swords comes up, maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe start over, go back to the beginning.
And you see it, well, I mean, if you're only using the aces, it just depends. But how you see those things.
I would see it like you just said, or probably, for me at least personally, it would tell me that perhaps they already know the answer. Like it's just within them. Like for me, intuitively, like you could go either way with it being the root of things or opportunity, because I see them as opportunities.
Yes. Yes. But is it the opportunity that you want based on the question? You know what I mean? So the way that the question is posed or what it's for can also determine whether it's a yes or no for me.
Right.
Just so you guys know, we are not, for the chat members. We are going to be asking different members of the community to join us every couple of weeks. When we do this, we're going to be switching from each one of these channels so that, you know, we can share the wealth, spread the wealth around all of the different channels. And we want to get other people who maybe don't even see like what we do, because we don't even see everything the same way, but we can have a discussion about it. It's not a fight. It's not a right or wrong. It's just a discussion, right? Mm-hmm. So, but we would love everyone's intake on that or input on that, and just keep it exciting. And we're just going to work our way through the minor arcana first and then go to the major arcana. So,
yes.
I will read on my own after I go through the book once. Yeah.
That's what I plan on doing. Yep.
You could look at ace upright as green light, go, or ace reversed red light. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So anything else that anyone wanted to add that well, one thing I did want to say, with me associating the number 1 with also the aces and it being the sun. So when we look at the different elements, for instance, fire, if we have the sun in any one of those other signs that ace is elementally in, like astrology associated with, like the sun in Aries, the sun in Sagittarius, the sun in Leo. Could that also mean something? Could you look at the aces like that as well?
I could. Definitely.
I thought I had seen someone earlier ask about like how astrology correlates with tarot. Am I right about that? Because I had a comment about that too. And for me, that would mean it boils down to archetypes and a wheel journey, because that is exactly what astrology is. And symbolically, they are different archetypes everywhere. And so is the tarot. And you put those two together, you can get great symbolic answers or things.
Exactly.
It helps me to retain more by associating all those different things with the tarot. It helps me to retain the meaning behind it and then apply it in the reading in the way that the card lands or where it lands.
Absolutely.
I believe it's all important.
So Lady Blind Wolf says, but astrology also, again, goes back to elements, because aren't all of the astrological signs grouped into elements in tarot? Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when you talk about astrology and numerology and tarot, they all do. They are all systems that can easily work with each other. And when we go back to, like, for instance, with Maria, what's actually on this side, it's the opposite. Talking about the Golden Dawn. Well, I am reading currently, I just started. Oh, and it doesn't look like I brought it down. It's one on the deacons, learning about the deacons, right? And astrology, because each one of the cards in the minor arcana, minus the aces, because the aces I feel like is more like that whole, you know, seedling of that particular suit, but all the other ones are specific deacons. So it means like Mars in this or the sun in this. 2 through 10s are all that. They're all deacons. So, but that started with the Golden Dawn. The deacons were before that, but they're the ones that started putting it into the system of tarot. I was just reading that.
Yeah. And if you wanted to get even more complex, you could even add runes as well. And with the astrology and the tarot and numerology. Which is the point. You can do anything.
Hers are so deep, and she puts all that symbolism in there. I mean, her cards are amazing. And honestly, before I started studying the Spirit Keeper with Rachele, all the other things about tarot didn't really pop up for me. And with her, again, like I said, with her putting all that on there, it helped me to retain, even though it's extremely deep, and she goes even beyond, astrology and runes and esoteric knowledge in the beginnings. She does magic. I mean, she puts magic in there. It's like,
oh, and the I Ching. We haven't even talked about the I Ching.
Yeah.
There's I Ching that's also associated with what is it? Geomantic.
Yeah, there's no simple reading with that deck.
Oh, I just mean in general. You can put so many different levels into tarot. And if you want a simple reading, you want it cut and dry, and you want just simple meanings, okay, I get that. And sometimes maybe, especially if you're like a hotline reader, which I don't know for sure. I'm sure that some do take it deeper than that. But if you just like do a lot of quick readings, maybe on your channel or whatever, and you just want to keep it short and simple, okay. But if you want to look deeper and go deeper into the symbolism and go deeper into the numerology and adding the numbers and what kind of like angel numbers are you getting from these cards, and what bigger pictures, what bigger things are they telling us, right? Other than just the simple meanings. Because I can't tell you how many times I have had readings that were purely 100% symbolic, had nothing to do with the meanings of the cards. And it played itself out, showing that it was about the symbols, showing the pictures, that had nothing to do with the meanings. So how can that be wrong if it's working? How can that be right or wrong? I don't think it can be.
That'd be telling your higher self that, no, you're not doing it the right way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like pulling another card saying that's not the right reading. Pulling another card saying that's not the right reading.
No, if somebody needs clarification, maybe they're not understanding, like what Carla said in the beginning when she was still learning and she wasn't sure. Okay, well, because sometimes you can get several different meanings from one card also. So if you say, okay, is it this or is it this?
Right.
And then you draw another card for clarification. That I get. But if you're trying to, in my own opinion, and this is everything on here is just our opinions. There's no facts here. It's just, the way that we see tarot, the way that we use these systems. But if I'm like getting a card and this is the meaning, and I understand what that meaning is, and I'm like, no, I just don't accept that. What do you got? And I'm going to draw another card, or I'm going to do another reading right after that because I thought that one wasn't good. For me, that's just like defeating the whole purpose of using tarot. For me, right? So, any comments?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think it's more for energy for me. Like when I said I put the cards back, like, nope, not doing this. I think that says about the energy I'm in or the thoughts that I'm in. And I feel like at that point, I'm not really capable of looking at the positive or trying to interpret correctly from my higher self. So I'm just like, yep, not right now. And then I'll reapproach it. So, yeah.
I can see that, and that's different. Just like, let's say, for instance, I have done this before when I have gotten a brand new deck, and I just immediately took it out and just started using it. And it just gave me, like, even if I started doing like an interview, right? And it was just like really not offensive, but really just like negative, all negative answers that I was getting. I would think, okay, I think I need to cleanse the deck because how many people has it gone through their hands? I mean, when I watch them deliver some of my packages at my front door, they just go and throw it. How much attitude do people have when they're holding that? Because it was you, Summer, I believe, that had showed us this article just recently about how our hearts, we can feel the energy. And I said, well, it's about time that science actually like confirmed more or less what we knew in the occult for like ever, or knew in spirituality, that our hearts you can feel somebody else's energy, right? Well, now they can actually gauge that. So if that's going through that hand and that hand and that hand, I do think that we do need to cleanse our deck sometimes. And if all you're getting is negative reading, sometimes that can be your trigger, that it wasn't for you, wasn't anything about you or your reading. It's time to cleanse that deck. So just saying that.
So speaking of decks, and I know we're trying to get it wrapped up here soon because we're already working on an hour on here. But I did have a question for everybody, like particularly you guys, because when I'm reading aces or any of the other cards, the deck that I'm using is going to play a factor in how I do the readings as well and how I view those aces. Some of my aces have hands, some of them just have creatures, some of them have, just pip stuff that doesn't have anything to do, like I can't read it as well because I'm not really pips, but it's this differing idea that each artist, and this is how it's evolved over the years, right? They all used to be kind of the same, RWS and all that. And then as our cultures have expanded and our art has expanded and all that, we've also expanded in how we read decks because those arts are interpreting the meaning based off what that artist saw, what that artist views as aces.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Extremely relevant.
Well said.
Yes. I completely agree with that. And that's why when I have a different deck, so like I see this sometimes where people will pick out the decks that they're going to work with in a certain month. And I get that. I do understand that. Maybe because especially if you have a lot of decks like me, I just did my count and it's quite high. Okay. So sometimes you have to rule out what you're not going to work with so that you can actually spend some quality time with the deck. I get that. But when I see a tarot spread, I like scan my decks and I'm like, which one do I feel like is going to help me with this particular spread?
Yep.
They all carry a different energy for me. So it's really hard for me to say, well, I'm going to only use this deck this month. That's just really difficult. So that's why I also like having a variety, because on any given day, I can be any archetype that's in, at any minute. I mean, I could be really, really good and then get into an argument with somebody, or, something catastrophic happen or whatever, or be in a really great mood, something just happened positive, and onto another archetype I switch, So yeah, I definitely think that the artwork and what you choose and that energy all interplay with each other.
For me personally, I let my guides pick because I believe that, and I know I don't have that many, but I have one in particular that picks this deck, my wizard deck, and he is a fire dragon. So yeah, he picks that deck when he wants to read.
I love you, Carla.
Anyway,
so I have different decks for different purposes, and depending on what kind of reading I'm doing, I'm usually gravitating to the deck that I have assigned for that. Like I have decks that are for everyday stuff, decks for love stuff, for work stuff, for even politics and current events and things like that. And that is mostly based on the artwork, because certain things will just fit better with specific topics, and that's how I work with them, because I'm very much a visual reader. So for me, the artwork goes with the topic.
Absolutely.
I do that to a point, and I love that, but I just tend to be like, all right, talk to me, and kind of just run my hands over and be like, okay, you, I'm feeling you.
You know what? What if we were to do even something like this? What if we had a deck of cards? You can buy those cards, the blank cards from Amazon. And what if we created a deck of cards that just simply had all the decks, especially if you're a large collector, that had all of the deck names on a card, and you say, okay, which deck should I work with today? and let your higher
That'd be another
self
way. Yeah.
decide. Right.
It's
If
kind
you
of the
have that many.
same analogy as what Courtney's saying. You let
Yes,
your higher self or the guides or whatever that are around you pick.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So
It
highly
is.
spiritual, in my opinion.
It's just what I feel.
So Carol says, it's my experience that the cards show, work, speak, teach at the level the inquirer is at or able to understand, Rachele.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
100% agree.
there are times though I feel like the cards taught me though. Like even though I was at a certain level of learning, I feel like they also can teach or push you to learn. If you get what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
I like Tangie's, what she talks about, giving permission to that person to say, okay, I'm gonna deep dive in there. So you have to give me permission. And I have adopted that as far as like throwing my third eye into connection with the other person's third eye. If I think they might feel that, obviously, I don't think they'd be sitting getting a tarot reading if they didn't think there's something to it, So, and it seems to work magnificently.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, her energy is insane. Okay. I can
Hi.
only take Tangie in smaller amounts just because her energy is so, I mean, she's just
Powerful.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, I've had her readings and they are off the chart. Oh, just like they don't go by any like given system, but I'm telling you, she is always smack dab right on it. Her readings are so friggin' good.
Yep.
I would love one.
They're so good, and that I can see them play themselves out. But when you watch her, you think, wow, man, she is just like out there. She's in a UFO somewhere riding around in space, right?
Yeah.
She's so out there, but she's got that connection right there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No
Definitely.
doubt. So Carol says, so important, Rachele, the need to clear your cards and personalize them regularly. Yes, that's another thing. Like with the modifying, I've modified 3 decks this week. Cutting the edges off because my fingers are short and fat, so I can't easily shuffle. And it's not even about just riffle shuffling, it's about just being able to do this, because some of them, and I think they were all, no, one of them was Cheryl. Yeah, I know that you know this, Summer, because her hands are like so tiny. They're so tiny. But being able to even just use your cards, I want to be able to use my cards. But I've heard other people say, well, you should not modify. That's like ruining them. No, I am getting a deeper relationship with my deck when I modify it. Right?
I took your advice, because this deck is very personal to me. It was one of the first ones that called to me when I was in a shop. And you were talking about personalizing your decks. And I got a little carried away. I put the border so that I could see it on the card, but I thought it was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And my dragon really appreciated it. He did. It was like, thank you for making me even more beautiful than I already am.
Yeah. See, all of you guys are so brave. The people who do the modifications are so brave. I don't do modifications on mine hardly ever.
I do that even with out of print decks, like that are very hard to come by. And for me, it's like taking a picture out of a frame. If I cut off that border, and it's like I'm freeing the picture in a way. And if I leave the border on, I know I'm not going to gravitate to the deck as much as I would if I take it off, because then this just fits my aesthetic. And therefore, I'm going to use it more if I think it's pretty. Mm-hmm. But if I leave the border on, that's just like, so.
Except we need a much bigger deck than 78 cards, LOL, with all of our collections. Yeah.
Yeah. For you guys, definitely.
I think you can actually get, because I've got like, I just made that journal for organizing your decks. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that, I actually had to put all of my decks into it. So on that day, it actually took a couple of days, because I've got 3 different areas in my house where I've got all my decks. And I didn't realize until I did that how many I had. and I have like 170 decks. It's a lot.
Just tarot or tarot and oracle and everything?
That's tarot and oracle and my one Lenormand and my one playing cards.
I usually
And
look
a
at
few.
Rhiannon's wall whenever I watch a video. It's like I'm
Wow.
trying to listen to what she's saying, but I'm also going, oh, I wonder what that is in the
Carla and I talked about that. We're like, ooh, look at that. Look at that.
I know, right?
I take those little construction cards though, like the flashcards, and I write certain words on it for my own little readings. But you could probably use that if you've got like a big amount of decks if you don't use the digital, which I'd probably recommend the digital. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ange says personalized decks are so powerful, and I feel I can take a reading to the next level, or it can take the reading to the next level and allows the reader to access deeper information. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes.
Just like the same analogy as, wrapping it in silk, putting it under your pillow, all those things, pairing it with a crystal if you feel the need. If you don't. But whatever it is that you do, maybe you hold it around, like the little projects that they did in like home ec school or whatever, where you take an egg and it's your baby. Well, you can do that with your tarot. You make it your baby.
And sometimes it can have like a very mundane reason, because after a while, certain cards, shuffling them a lot will just like destroy the edges. And if I want to keep working with them, I think a couple of years down the line, I will just cut that off, cut it a little bit smaller to have it pretty again and make sure that it doesn't rip too far into the pictures.
Yeah. It's, you take care of them because they're like part of you now,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
I've put in little sigils on mine, like where you can't see it, but like I know it's there, and it adds to what I think the card interprets, things like that.
So personalize your cards without modifying them. Any ideas, ladies?
Dedicating. I've dedicated.
I think just working with them, because your energy and how you view the cards, like when you're experimenting with your cards or that deck, as you're learning tarot, as you're learning astrology or whatever it is you want to apply to it, I think adding your own energy gives it its own kind of personalization. But you can also do things like getting a personalized bag for it, like a bag for it, because you pick the bag and you're putting what you view that deck as, or color wise or creation wise. And I think that has more to do with intent rather than anything else. So it's just intention based. And some people can mod like crazy and cool and cut all their sides off, and other people just color just the sides, or some people do all of them, or some even paint on them. So I think that it's a variation of what you personally view as putting your energy into the card.
Yeah,
I've sang to mine as well, like certain songs that they remind me of. I will hold them and breathe on them and sing. Like I picture the vibration of the energy of the song that it reminds me of or correlates to, one that is even personal to me, and my emotions or energy, and I'll sing that song into them and kind of give it that breath of energy that I want it to have as well. It's another idea.
That is beautiful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, you were saying, Maria, about separating, like only using certain decks, like if you were doing like a financial reading for somebody, or so if you wanted to make your own special like incense that's for like prosperity and abundance and career, then you can actually, without modifying your deck, you can, run it in the smoke for something like that. Or like what Benabelwen did with all of her decks, which I've had it for a long time now, and I can still smell it every time I open it up, as she anoints all of her decks, and they smell so good. As soon as you open it up, it's like, yeah, exactly. And you can smell it. It permeates the whole thing. Also, another thing they have at the dollar store, the little like sleeves that you can get that are for like lilacs and different florals. put that like in a drawer or something, somewhere off the side where it's going to keep it, or like a little box, and just open up your box or leave your cards open in that and let that scent permeate also all the cards without damaging them. You're not putting oil, you're not putting anything that could harm it, but you're still putting the scent into it. So that's an idea. And it's a special box, just like we make special boxes for manifesting or whatever. It can be like that as well, where you don't actually modify it.
Oh, absolutely. I have some decks too where I only work, like if I want to use it to work with entities like angels or something, I'll use that deck for only that, or like shadow work, or like Maria had said, just.
Yes. I am going to get 3 Dixit packs. Make my own deck.
Yeah, they are
Like
good.
a child.
I approve with Dixit.
Yeah, I find for me, like the more I personalize a deck, the more I like working with it, because I spend more time with it. And something that I do is I write on my cards and turn them into tarot journals. And so naturally, I will sit quite a bit of like time with my decks, and it's not a one and done thing. Like once I've written something on it, then it's done. It's an ongoing process. Like as soon as I hear something about a certain card, I will add that to the card. So I keep adding until I run out of space.
Yeah. You have that on your haunted.
I got that on my haunted house, and I started a second deck, the Wisdom Seeker Tarot, I believe it was. And I just love it. Like in the beginning, when I see the cards without any writing, there's a little bit of a hesitation, but as soon as I start, I just love the cards even more with my writing on it. And then after seeing them this way, I can't even imagine them without the writing. Like for my haunted house, I have a backup edition with no writing. But if I have the choice which one I use, I will always go to the one that I spent more time with, and that's the one that has my notes on it.
Very
I
good.
think that's
Exactly.
beautiful too. Just like anything, to make those decks a part of you, because they really are your higher self, your guide. They're wanting to communicate with you. So what more beautiful way than that?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, I don't think we ever really talked about this, just really quick before we end this. Okay, so I see the order also as wands, cups, swords, pentacles. That's how I was taught. That's how I always see it. When I was learning, I made cheat sheets for myself. Well, little like cards that I, what do you call it? Laminated. And then I would put them, even when I would do readings or whatever, put them in that order. And 9 times out of 10, I never had to look at them. I knew them. But for me, being a new reader, you know, this imposter syndrome that's very common, it can hold people back. So I would put it there just as a little crutch if I needed it. I didn't have to do the major arcana. Those were easy to remember. It's the minor arcana that were always difficult for me. I'd get them confused.
Yes. Yep.
So that's even the order that I would put them down. So in case I needed that extra, I could look at it really quick and then go back to my reading. And believe it or not, it wasn't long that I was doing that I didn't need it anymore. I was so confident.
I was a musician. Yep. When I was a musician, I used to use keywords to remember a verse. And that's all I would need is one word. And it triggers all that. You know what I'm saying? And then once you are used to seeing those words in your mind, you associate that keyword with a card. And automatically you remember what the card means just from one word. I love that. I think it's brilliant. It's worked for me for years. So I do the same.
And it doesn't mean you have to be limited by that. It's just a spark. It's just a spark.
What you're retaining the spirit that you associate with it.
Exactly. So, do you guys all see the order the same way? So like when you reset your decks, and I know some people don't reset their decks. I like to reset my decks, even just for fun. If I'm watching a video or something, I'll just sit there and
Relaxing.
reset them. Yeah. And I think that that also kind of clears its energy. That's another way. So what are the orders that you guys see your cards? And chat, how do you guys see your orders?
Chaos. I just
Okay.
honestly, I don't reset. I don't see an order. It's chaos, man.
What
I
she
love it.
said, right? What she said.
Wait, you know,
Is there order to your chaos? Some sort of order that works for you?
it's reaching into chaos and pulling the order for that moment out. And seeking
So
that
whatever
moment.
strikes you in the moment.
Right.
So do you ever like reset your cards?
Never.
No.
Never. I
You
just
don't
say
either.
it's as it is how it's supposed to be. Is
I
how
do, if I'm doing a like showing on my channel, I'll reset the cards, but I don't really pay attention to how I put them together. I just have major and minor, and I put all the suits together. I don't really pay attention to if I put cups first or wands first or anything like that.
As a Virgo moon, that's really freaking irritating. No, I'm just
I'm telling you because I do the same thing as you did. They are in the exact suits as just like because my first tarot study deck was the SKT, and that's how she has hers. So that's what I use now, and it's that exact order. And yeah,
But see,
meticulous.
that's even how I see like manifestation, my witchcraft. So first I look at it
Fire.
like the inspiration, right? The inspiration, not the thought first. It's the inspiration, that feeling that then gets like, well, the inspiration and then mixed with the emotions of what it does, because that's how inspiration works, at least for me. And then the adding the thoughts, the focusing in on the thoughts and how I want to manifest it. And then we've got our pentacles, which is the culmination for me. And when I do tarot, the culmination of all those other three elements that manifest. And that's how I see the pentacles, as the culmination of all the other suits. So
for me, I go by seasons. Like when I had my first deck, it was a pip deck. And so I needed a book along with that, and it was never mind my cat. And it was a witchy book that had a chapter on tarot, and they associated each of the suits. Artemis. Anyway, each of the suits was associated with a season, and so spring was the swords, summer is wands. Fall is pentacles, and cups is winter.
oh,
That's interesting, yeah, because I always think of sometimes ice and frozen tundra as the
pentacles.
water.
Oh, see, I see it as pentacles, as the cold, the winter, but all
Me
the other
too.
ones.
I could see pentacles as the cold in winter for sure, and I do see wands as summer.
Yeah, I see the wands of summer for the fire, like the heat and
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Swords, the air, which is like the spring and the winds and everything. Pentacles in the fall because it's like earthy and harvest and all that. And the water, ice and whatever, snow, rain in the winter. So
How
for
dare
me
you
that
be
makes sense,
logical
and
to
that
me.
is my order that I'm going by, no matter what any other book says. It's the thing that stuck with me.
I can understand that. Definitely.
Yeah.
I relate.
And for me, maybe the reason I think of autumn as water is because autumn is my favorite. And that is like an emotional response. So like when I think of autumn, I think of like going outside when the wind is wisping around, you can feel just a little light drops, like it's just getting ready to rain, or it's just in the air. You just close your eyes and you're a little bit chilled. You've got goosebumps. And the colors are all around you, the fall colors. It is what I love the most. So, of course, that would be water for me. That would be the heart, right? So
Love
that makes
that.
sense. Yeah. So, if you know how to show, you can always, you can always make a tarot bag out of the dollar store bandanas too, or, out of the dollar store table runners. Yeah.
Yeah, you can upcycle many things.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still working with that tarot of the she that you guys went on about, and I just got, oh, very good.
Mm.
You can divine with anything because it's the intention and meaning we put into our tools. Yeah, I love seeing people's creativity with personalization. Right on.
Hallelujah.
You reset often. Well, with you being a hotline reader, is that why you reset, to just like kind of reset the energy?
I used to do that with in-person readings, like when I actually had people in front of me, and then I would have another person, then I would reset the deck to like clear the energy. But I'm not, like with all the online readings that we do, I don't have time for that between every single reading, so I just don't do that anymore, like really.
Wow. I love it so much. It's
do
another
too.
way I feel like I'm getting to know my deck again too.
Mm-hmm.
When I reset it, because I'm looking at all of them. I put them all in order, and then they, you know, I even have a system to resetting my decks.
If I'm doing like reading after reading and somebody's like in front of me, like I did the tarot class nights or whatever with a bunch of different other learning tarot readers, what I did in between readings, and I didn't just reset the deck, but I would take the deck and somebody showed me this. I don't remember who, probably somebody at one of the tarot nights. But all I did was just start laying the cards out face down in a circle and then put them all back together because it dispersed the energy.
That's very cool.
Definitely.
No, but I'm branching out because what works with me is to match the decks I use with a person's energy. Yeah. That works too.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
See, for me,
I can't multitask.
Well, I can't multitask when it comes to people. Okay. Maybe because in my core, I feel like that's rude. So it's hard for me to have a conversation with this person texting while texting with this person. And, oh yeah, trying to chat in this one. I get it all messed up. People get angry with me because I really am bad at it. But if I'm watching something like Ange said, when she watches like Tarot Tube, she'll reset. That's when I like to reset my stuff. That's when I like to do modifying. I'll sit there, but it helps me to be able to focus on what I'm listening to, because I'm not one of those people that watches a video and goes, you know, fast forward, fast forward. I sit back and I enjoy it. I listen to the whole conversation. So while I'm doing that, so I don't get totally like, oh my God, bored kind of thing, that's when I reset or do modification or something with my hands to keep me busy.
Do any of you do this? I want to know, because like I'll look up readings for my zodiac or whatever, like general, and then I'll be reading for myself and like try to put it together and then see what the overall thing is, or see if we get similar like readings or messages. Do any of you do that on Tarot too?
Just I haven't, but now I want to.
Yeah, I've done that.
I haven't done that.
I've done that. Whenever I see somebody doing a spread, I like have to pause it, and then okay, I got to go do this too, because I'm a spread person. I love spreads. That did not sound right. But
love it.
I know, I'm such a child.
Multitasking is essential for me, but not because because I wish I had time to sit and do that stuff when I'm watching YouTube, but it's usually because I have to get dishes or dinner done. So I'm watching YouTube and I'm doing dishes, or I'm cooking dinner, or I'm changing a poopy diaper.
Right. I do that too. I don't change poopy diapers, but yes, when I'm doing dishes or cooking or whatever, it helps pass the time.
It does. And I am able to watch people's videos if I do that. Otherwise, I don't have time. So
she knocks hers out. She'll knock on it to try to clear it.
I've seen people do that.
Yes. I have done that before, especially if you're doing a lot of like really fast. But afterwards, I'm guessing that's when you like to reset it after that.
I don't let people touch them, and I just don't even envision their energy in it. It's like through me. I'm the bridge. Like, don't touch my cards and we're good. You know, then I don't feel like I have to cleanse it.
If it's somebody like when Summer came, or when Carla comes, or if one of you guys came over to the house, I wouldn't care if you guys touched my decks. That's different. I know your guys' energy,
Mhm.
but
And I want to touch your decks.
you want to touch my decks.
I definitely want to.
Touchy, touchy. I use selenite to keep my decks cleared, especially when reading on the hotline, as there's so many different energies come through. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When they tell me they need it. Yeah.
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 Yep.
Like for Rachele, I would probably use Everyday Witch Tarot of the Moon Garden and maybe my Spirit Tarot. Well, cool. Thank you.
Nice.
I feel like that's really practical, and I'm a practical person.
Yep.
But I'm also spirit. I'm a spiritual. Oh, what do I say? I am a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a really practical conspiracy theorist. Right?
Yep.
If
Not
there is
me.
such a thing, and there is.
I'm not that practical. I try to be, but I'm more like out there. I'll believe like the most insane conspiracy theory out there, and it'll make sense.
If you guys could only hear some of the rabbit holes that we go down after like a dream, we say, "Oh, guys, you got to hear what my dream was last night." We're like different dimensions. Oh my gosh, that was another alternative. I mean, and we
Time
truly
traveling.
believe that. Yeah, we were time traveling last night. You're not going to believe where we ended up. I mean, it's awesome. But this got way. Does anyone have anything they want to add about the aces? Any questions? I mean, most of you guys that are here already know about the aces, right?
This
Any
was
comments
great.
and questions? What did she say? Oh, hang on. So, but I do more ancestral stuff for Cortney. So I would use only my Viking deck or Native American decks. Yep. Or my Celtic
I
decks.
could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you.
But if I wasn't doing an ancestral reading for her, I would probably use my Peg plus Cat, my Pagan Tarot, or my Book of Shadows Tarot, or maybe my Witchling. Yeah.
Nice.
Great point, Maria. After I am finished with reading for a client, I ask the client to gather the cards into a pack to clear and negate the energy laid out. Yeah,
Cool.
I just don't like that. I don't like people touching my stuff. I don't.
I'll bite them.
Yeah. This was so fun to watch. So if you want to come and join us, please leave me a comment down below, or some of you
Yeah,
guys
because
have
I'm gonna miss twos, so there's definitely an extra space because I won't be there for the twos.
Yeah, and
Love
I can
it.
have up to 10, I believe. So the more people, the more fun it is. And you don't have to think the same way that we do about it. It's all welcome here. So
That's what
and
makes it exciting. Hearing
yes.
Maria talk about the Golden Dawn, and oh my gosh, I thought that was freaking awesome. That's what we need. I want
Yes.
Carol to come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mystical Carol. Yeah.
Yes.
Baby.
Yes. I want all of y'all to come on. Just saying.
Yeah. Rhiannon,
We want to hear from everybody.
and everybody.
Yes.
I want
Aw.
free.
Excellent. So that's what I was going to say. The next one is going to be on Carla's channel. So if you are not subscribed to her small channel, because she just got started, it's called Carlastrology. I will be putting a link to all of the ladies down below as soon as this is over, and I can have access to the description. So links to all of their channels. If you guys want to just tell everyone really quick, which I think everybody knows, but just tell them really quick what your channel name is.
I'm sorry, I was reading comments. Carlastrology.
Maria?
LadyKnight of Avalon.
AstariaSen.
Stories, lore, and more with EriesWitchcraft.
Yes. Thank you, guys. So, like I said, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing these roughly every 2 weeks, and they're going to be on Saturdays. So, okay. And we do have another one coming up. When is that? Like the 14th, I think?
Yeah.
I'm
The
gonna miss
14th.
that one too.
And that is going to be Tarot Tea and Tiaras. And we will be putting something in the group, in the Amethyst Ascension group, within days, because this one is going to be, and it's going to be on Cortney's channel. But it's going to be about like feminine energy. So working with like the goddess and stuff like that. And we're going to be picking goddess decks. And you know what, if you can't attend, because we are going to be putting like spreads that we choose that we're going to be working with. We're going to be putting those spreads in the Amethyst Ascension group. So do them along with us, guys. Okay, but we're going to be talking about that feminine energy on our next Tarot Tea and Tiaras, and it's going to be on the 14th. Sorry, it's all screwed up over here. There we go. It's going to be on Cortney's channel. So make sure after this you come back. If you are not subscribed, I will be putting all of the links down below to these beautiful ladies' channels. And if you want to join us, just let us know. Contact us somehow, leave a comment, whatever, and we'll have you on with us. Okay.
Love to see you
Don't
there, and
forget
really
Ritual for the black moon.
Oh yeah, on the
Something.
30th. Oh, that's today.
That's today. That's what I'm doing after this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing everyone's perspectives in the comments too. This was great. So I hope you guys do join us.
Yes, and it's going to be like in 2 weeks on a Saturday, or is it going to be 3 weeks on a Saturday? I can't remember for
It's
sure.
the
I don't have it in
14th,
front of me.
so that should be 2 weeks from now.
No, I'm talking about the next of this.
Oh, that one is in 3 weeks, I believe.
The 21st, I think, something
Yeah.
like that. And that's going to be on Carla's channel. And we are going to be discussing the twos.
And so it isn't so confusing. We can all just post it in our community tab, which channel, to remind you guys. So if
That's what
you're
I did
subscribed.
today. Yep, I posted it in my community tab.
Carla doesn't have one yet. Sorry.
Not yet. You will.
I'm a
Don't worry.
baby.
Right.
I'm a
But she
baby.
will. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're so happy to be back, and we're back. We'll talk to you guys later. Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.